Welcome to the Higher Ed Demand Gen podcast, helping higher education marketing leaders share knowledge about learning, strategies, and tactics that are relevant today. See what you can learn today by listening to one of our episodes.
All right, well, let's jump in here. I can navigate this. Today's speakers and panelists. So we have Nikki Sunstrum. She is the AVP of Strategic Communication at Indiana University. Andrew Cassel, Senior Social Strategist, Social Media Strategist at Middlebury College. I also got to meet Drew. We'll be addressing Andrew Cassel as Drew today, by the way, just to make things a little less confusing. But I got to attend one of Drew's sessions at High Ed Web, which was really amazing. So it's great to meet you in person. And then last but not least, we have Andrew Sogn, who's the Marketing and Social Media Coordinator at South Dakota State University, which we may refer to as SDSU at times during today's conversation. And I also got to meet Andrew very briefly at AMA 2 weeks ago, just in passing, but it was great to meet you as well. All right. And in terms of goal and agenda, this is going to be a very open formatted discussion, right? It's going to be very conversational. We do have some poll questions to kind of start asking questions to understand where the audience is at today. And then we'll get into the predetermined panelist questions. And then lastly, we'll cover the Q&A. So, very easy structure today. Just a quick introduction of Concept 3D. This panelist discussion today is sponsored and hosted by Concept 3D. And just 1 minute here, but Concept 3D is a higher ed marketing tech partner with over 650 happy higher ed customers, and we provide three main solutions. Our bread and butter is our interactive campus map that we provide to a lot of schools and institutions today. We also have a virtual campus tour solution called 360 Tour, and then we now recently offer a centralized campus events calendar for your website, usually owned by Marketing Communications, and this solution is called Localist Events. All right, well, let's jump in and let's have everyone participate today with a opening poll question. And there's going to be 3 in a row, so hopefully this makes sense to everyone, starting with what are the resources you need the most? So I put together a few, but there is a something else category, which you can give a short answer to in the next question. So cool. And just so everyone knows, the second question is what platform is most relevant to your audience? I know I'm missing a few in here, right? I added Be Real, that's just earlier, like 10 minutes ago, but there's a lot of social platforms out there. So just curious. And I did have a suspicion which the top ones would be, but yeah, what are the resources you need the most?
Oh my goodness, I'm so fascinated to talk to people who are out there using Be Real. I'm really interested in that.
I threw that in there because it's an interesting one I'm seeing catch on. Like I think I was walking around Denver the other day and I saw a bunch of about college age students taking Be Reals, and I was like, okay, how can we use this platform? But all right, 90% participation. I'll end it and share the results. Thanks, Drew. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking about. But we only have so much time, right?
That's true. That's true.
I believe I should be sharing the results here now with everyone. So the top answer for what resources you need the most was people power or headcount. So staffing, employee issues, it looks like at 67%, which is exactly 2/3. Coming in next is having leadership support around social media marketing. Next is budget, and then next is something else, which actually the smallest category. So that's good to hear that we had the right choices out. Let's see if I can look at the details real quick. Sorry about that. Yeah, any commentary? It looks like, I was actually surprised to see budget pretty low on the answer there. But any comments?
So someone said for the platform was other. What was the platform they listed in the other?
I'm wondering if it's YouTube.
Oh, that's a whole
right.
other question, Nikki. Like how YouTube is sort of split off from even being considered social media anymore. That's a whole. I guess we can talk about that later.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't seen an answer for it quite yet. But,
okay.
Yeah, YouTube is a great suspicion. Yeah.
So I'll take a bit of commentary on the headcount thing. It's clearly not surprising. As we know, after 20 years, there's still far too many one-person shops of social media managers or directors or creators or specialists, depending on whatever title has been provided to them at the time. But it sort of runs in tandem with budget. Personally, I have always prioritized investing in people over tools. But certainly when you are a one-person shop, oftentimes you're looking for a budget allocation to help you invest in technology or within a platform that can help you triage a lot of the content that's being said about your brand online, or a publishing platform. So, depending on where you're sitting and how you're positioned, those two things can kind of ebb and flow a little bit.
It's also interesting to see, but that leadership support is still so high on that list that, as you said, it's been like 2 decades that we've been doing this work. And if leadership is still resistant or confused or not sure or always demanding, like explaining about why it's important, that concerns me.
I
I'll
think it's
add a
on
new one.
levels.
Oh, go ahead,
Go ahead.
Andrew.
No, sorry. Go ahead, Nikki.
Thank you. I was just going to add a new caveat to that as well, Drew, is that it's the expectations, the perception versus reality, that I think I'm seeing more and more commonly with leadership now. So it's not what we were initially dealing with at the start and the dawn of many of our careers in social media, that we needed to convince people that it was important. It's now with our leadership, we need them to truly understand the value that it adds and what it is actually capable of doing and what it can't do. Right. So when you come with these questions and you ask for these things and have a perceived, based on your own personal usage, kind of concept of what social media will do or should do, and then you're trying to explain, yeah, no, that's not, I don't have access to that person's Facebook group or to that person's TikTok, or I can't change their mind on something. That's not how trends in content creation work. It's sort of evolved, which is very interesting.
Similar to that, I think it's the conversation of the value and the investment that it takes, not just budgetary, right, but in people and in the support of the account, right? I'm looking at all these like resources of like, which one do we need the most? Well, in this area, I need budget more because we need a tool to make something happen. But a college that I'm working for, they need, or working with, right, they need leadership to support, to talk about the random department hiring a part-time individual to run their social media at 10 hours a week. That's not good investment, right? Like, that's not going to help you grow. That's not going to do anything. And then on the flip side, I need more people because we have hundreds of stories to tell and every day, and we'd love to do that more. So in short, can I just answer all 4 of them? Is that my something else?
Right.
All of the above.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought this up, because I'm quickly learning there was a multiple choice option. It would have been really interesting to see how many people would have actually selected maybe all 3 top answers, because they are all intertwined, as I think all of you have mentioned. That's great. Okay, just moving on a little bit here to what platform is most relevant to your audience. We did get a 2/3 answer for Instagram, which for me didn't come at a surprise. Twitter was actually our next largest answer, which was interesting. It beat LinkedIn. And then there was an other category as well. But yeah, I don't know if anyone wants to comment on that. It seems like it was just around what I was expecting, but yeah. Cool.
Instagram is definitely this is the thing that I've learned in the past at least few years that working at Middlebury. When someone says social media, they mean Instagram. Like that is what they mean. And I need to be in meetings and things like that. Could you please not just say social media? Could you be specific? Like if you mean Instagram, say Instagram. And then Instagram has all these other things that are going on. And this connection between Instagram and Threads, that's another thing. That's a whole other source of topic of conversation. But Instagram definitely, for the students that I work with, the staff and the faculty that I work with, and the leadership, when someone says the words social media, that is the platform that they are referring to.
Great point. And yeah, it looks like no one did answer Be Real, but maybe we can we can we can
That's
connect in a year and see what
I love Be Real
actual
myself.
changes
It's
to.
so tough for our work, and that we don't need to talk about that right now. That'll take up too much time. Do Andrew and Nikki, do you use Be Real yourselves?
Absolutely not. No.
I do not. The closest I get to Be Real is when I'm in a meeting with our student media team and all of their phones ding at the same time, and then they all post a picture of each other on
That's
their Be Real. So
That's the lure of Be Real. And so I want to say really quickly, since we're talking about this, that for a while I was thinking like, how could I crack Be Real? What could I do? I really enjoy Be Real. And every time I enjoy a platform, I'm like, how can I make this for work? As I'm sure we all do. But Be Real, once I started seeing like, oh, maybe I don't want brands in my Be Real. But Be Real added a feature called Friends of Friends, which sort of changes its relationship for higher ed. So if
Mm,
you do have an account that you have your student workers make, they can like sort of get the idea of what life is like. But that's a whole other topic. I don't want to go too far down the Be Real rabbit hole, but I do really, really enjoy Be Real.
Be Real to me, when it first appeared on the scene, what, a year or two ago now at this point, it had early era Snapchat vibes where it looked like
mhm.
an opportunity for brands to be authentic, but then very quickly turned into a space where normal everyday users didn't necessarily want us. And so I think a strategic investment, particularly with a small team on platforms, as you alluded to, Drew, that are social media, which is Instagram, are more realistic. The funny thing about Instagram is that I feel like depending on where you fall in a generational timeline, it is the new Facebook. And it's very quickly evolving into a space that is just the lowest threshold of entry for social media with the widest variety of tools, sans a garage sale marketplace. Right? So you can get your vertical video through Reels, you can get advertisements, you have both stories and in-feed posts. And so it provides a wide array of opportunity for anyone looking to enter into a social media space with a very still broad variety of users, right? So you might get everything from 12 to we might enter into boomer depending on who they are, and how savvy that they are, but you can still see a bit of engagement. Meta is very clearly still putting monetary value behind investment within that platform.
Mhm.
So your return from a higher education perspective is increased in comparison to some other areas. And because of that lower threshold to entry, you don't have to, if you don't have the monetary budget or the leadership support or the team, um, create a TikTok, which at the end of the day is probably where you need to be, but you can't yet. So double down on those reels and you'll get just as much bang for your buck.
we had almost the opposite, and I know, Cheryl, we got to go to the next slide, and I'll just keep chatting I
Got 1 minute.
specifically remember in 2021, right? That or change over to 2022, it was like my number one goal to invest in and grow our university TikTok account. And like I spent 10, 11 months heavily diving into that,
Yeah.
creating a student team, building our followers, building what we're doing, really creating a brand. And this isn't a political conversation whatsoever. It's red state, blue state. That's not what I mean here, but we no longer get to use that tool in South Dakota. It was taken away from us in December 2022. I actually have a personal TikTok of Celine, the Sarah McLaughlin song as I'm deleting it, and our student team and whatnot. So it's not a tool for us. So we doubled down on the Instagram on the opposite end and have used both organic and paid to really just show that the investment is worth it on some of that vertical video.
That's great. Yeah, I remember you
Is there a
sharing that.
few seconds left in that minute? Because I do want to say there's a platform that's not listed here that is very relevant to my audience that they use
Okay.
all of the time of current students, and that's Yik Yak. I do not recommend having a brand presence on Yik Yak, but it is vital for social media monitoring for your campus community.
Just got an alert on Yik Yak. So
Yeah,
I'd add
enjoy
That's
that.
Reddit
great.
too,
Yes,
Drew.
Reddit,
Yeah.
absolutely,
If we're
absolutely.
looking at just monitoring, yes.
Yes, absolutely.
That's great. Yeah, there's a social listening element to social media that is not really a part of our conversation today, but it's very impactful. I use Reddit all the time too, so
Yeah.
I'm here with you. Great. Well, let's move on to our first topic question here. Pretty broad here, but what are your 2024 social media bets? And maybe we'll start with you, Drew, because you were last speaking.
Generative AI is, I think we're talking about that a little later, but that is definitely a thing. Like we were just talking about Instagram and the flexibility and the amazing tools. They just added AI stickers into the stories that you can put in a prompt and it can generate a little sticker for you. You can have 3 more stickers. So that's a thing that is really going to be part of more and more of what we're doing, generative AI.
Great. Andrew, do you want to go next?
Drew stole the answer, right? The AI piece, as we're moving into the year and all the changes that just every day it seems like new things are popping up. I remember sitting in a session a while back at a conference that someone in AI said, it's not going to take your job, it's going to take the job of the person that refuses to use AI. So I think as social media creators, as managers, and to the higher ed space is so unique in that like every day on campus, people are creating, learning, trying, failing, doing new things. I think it's important for us as managers, creators, whatever your role is with social, is to kind of embrace that spirit a little bit, right? Try out the AI stuff, see what you can do with it, see what works, see what doesn't. Everyone's learning. So it's a really unique, I think, time to embrace that spirit of learning in the higher education field and be a leader in it. Could be really interesting. So yeah.
Thank you. Okay, Nikki.
This might not be a 2024. I think I might be pushing a little too far into the future
Let's
here.
do it.
But I think we're on the verge of a mass reckoning in social media, not in the way that we've seen brands, sort of take a political stance and abandon platforms, but because overall engagement is down. We are not seeing the user-generated content. We are not seeing people interact with brands in the same way. Higher ed has actually become quite good at social media strategy over the last decade, which is wildly impressive and a phenomenal, I think, reflection of the hard work and strategy that so many of us have put in. But it's not tracking the same way. The numbers are not the same. And so we're really going to have to think strategically about consolidation, about what it is that we're saying, why we're saying it, when we're saying it, who's on those platforms and willing to engage with us, and perhaps a return to more traditional communications.
Nikki, you are 100% accurate, and you are not in the future. I think you are in the now and the last year. Like one of the evidence that I can see in our work is the collapse of X, Twitter, and what that means for all those other places. Where do people go? How do they find it? How do you have your identity if Twitter was the place that you were doing it? What platform do you use? Do you spread out? I was in a meeting and someone said these words and they live rent-free in my head as they say that social media has lost its way. You're absolutely right, Nikki. And every day I ask, why am I doing this? What is the purpose of this? Who is seeing this? Does this have value for my own time? And so those are great, great existential questions. You're absolutely right.
I have something written on the right whiteboard over here of no growth, no post. And I think like that's been a really hard, we're not great at it right now. Like I'll wholly admit that too often we're still fighting this battle of like, sure, we can post that because we've always posted it, but like, let's really think about why we're doing certain things on social media. And it's to engage with people and it's to bring something to our audience that they want to see. And so our Instagram has seen that, right? I think we've done a good job on our Instagram of matching that need. Some of our other platforms, that's my social media bet, is that we got to get better. We're gonna fail. So
Nikki, also thinking about that a little bit more, it's what you said also about the leadership support and their expectations of what these platforms are. And you mentioned that we have worked really hard for a long time to educate them about what these platforms can do. We did great. Now they think they're amazing because we told them they were amazing. And now we're telling them, well, they're not that amazing. And so they're like, what are you talking about? 5 years ago, you're like, this is where we've got to be. And so it is, how do we keep up with that change? So maybe the 2024 social media bet, I will take it back from the generic generative AI and just be like, more change, more chaos, more thoughts about why am I doing this job?
Fantastic. Thanks for sharing that. Okay.
I'm doing the job for the students. I'm doing it because it's a better opportunity for people. Higher education is still a path to succeed for you, your family, your community, to make the world a better place, to fight against the climate crisis, to fight against political upheaval. It is still key. I believe in those things in my core, and that is why I do this job every single day. We serve those students every day.
Thank you. Getting some love, Andrew, by the way. No growth, no post in the comments here.
I don't get, that's not an original thought of mine. I just heard it from someone.
I was going to say, you should have some merch, put in the TikTok
yeah,
shop.
I should. If you're on the call and you thought of it, that's mine now. So
Andrew,
That's
I want to
great.
follow up too on something that you said following that, which was, no growth, no post, but it could be a really phenomenal post. There's just no one there anymore. And then what do we do? I mean, I think it's incredibly challenging to think about how we advocated for so long to take advantage of these platforms that were just a wealth of knowledge and engagement and opportunity. And now we have, some of us, still not as much as we should, but now we have these resources in place and our really great trendy content that's, adapts what the needs of our communities are with our research or our science or our investment in state impact is falling on deaf ears. There's no one there, or because of everything we've encountered collectively as a result of social media, they may see it, and that's the best metric that we get, because we're not getting that first like or that comment or that question. We certainly get the concerns, which is a whole different conversation. But
Yeah.
I think that's an incredible new challenge is before it was about taking advantage of what the platforms had to offer. And now it's somehow figuring out how to assess the appetite and needs and insights of a community that no longer engages in the same way because they're also fatigued.
I heard Adam Mosseri, the Instagram founder and sort of leader, and he said he gets the concerns, Nikki, which you mentioned. People are like, I just want to see the pictures that my friends are posting. That's what I want to see in my feed. And he said, well, you don't see them because your friends aren't posting. That the direct message part of Instagram is as heavily used as stories, if not a little bit more. We never see that. We can't participate in that. We're not creating close friends group. And if you are, I'm fascinated to people. If you're creating close friends on your stories to reach them, I'm curious to talk to more about people about that. But you're exactly right. People aren't using them the way they used to. They're not engaging them in the way that they used to. And this free organic marketing that we sort of like leaned into is now long gone.
It's
I
interesting.
think one of the ways that we're trying to counter that, right, is by showing as many faces as we can on campus, right? Like that's such a easy answer that doesn't work on everything. Nikki, I did want to joke there of like, it doesn't work for you when you say, drop your favorite in the comments below. Like that doesn't work.
Did it ever though? Really? Anyway,
no,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
it didn't. It's such a cliche answer or idea right on a post type of thing. But I think we look at it two ways, right? Of one is great story. Where do we tell it, or how do we tell it? Right? It's diversifying the content of maybe instead of that longer magazine article that we used to post and have a website tied to it, is can we just go find a professor who wants to talk on it for 10 seconds on a quick hit, or we're looking at podcasting, kind of building that out of telling stories and avenues of where our audience is kind of shifting to. But then back to what I was originally saying is we just try to show as many faces and differing folks on our platforms as we can, because that's the best engagement for us is if our student team goes and finds a friend, they start tagging each other, they get it, right? It's when we start to engage with a wide variety of campus, that's where we get the engagement. If we just post a random photo, we get the eyes on it, we get the likes from folks, but not the back and forth engagement.
Cool.
I think that circles back. If I can, just
yeah. One more. Sorry.
No need to apologize. I want to tie together what Drew and Andrew both just said, because it's one of the remaining nostalgic things about social media that works in our favor. And it's that your mother, brother, grandma, friend from high school, or neighbor is still on Facebook. And if you show people and they see them, it's like, oh, they're still so proud and they still engage. But on the flip side of that, as we think about the prospective student, they want to see people that they will feel comfortable with. They want to see a community in which they know that they will feel valued, and they want to be a part of a community that might be diverse or inclusive, or have a wide range of perspectives and beliefs. And we still have the ability to maintain that visual element through these social media platforms, which you're exactly right, Andrew, is critically important in the work that we do.
I'm typing a longer thing that I just want to keep chatting on, but Shiro, you can move to the next thing.
Cool.
We always know I'm long-winded, so.
Yeah, listening to these conversations, I didn't know this overall trend downward of social media engagement.
We don't like to
It's
talk about it.
interesting, but I appreciate
It's
you
a
bringing it up.
secret. We're
Don't
not
tell.
supposed to- we all
Don't
want to
tell.
be employed. So
Right.
Right. But it's figuring out ways to do it better, and also realigning your KPIs. I like what you said, Nikki, about how like maybe the KPI isn't our engagement right now. It becomes impressions and how much each quality piece we create, not quantity piece, interacts with our brand. And it actually reminds me of a conversation I had on the podcast that I host with Kate Young from Purdue, who they have an official university podcast where they highlight stories from professors, from past alums, and they launched a YouTube channel, an official YouTube channel, just at the start of this year, and it's doing really well. And so maybe like more educational content, like you said, Andrew, around highlighting professors is maybe another trend. But yeah, anyways, sorry, that was my commentary there. I'd love to get onto the next topic here around
Okay.
sorry, Drew. Should you develop student creators and to enhance your content? How we can maybe talk about influencers here as well. And I'll start with you, Nikki, this time.
yes. No one wants to hear from the old people at the table in social media content. Unfortunately, we're phenomenal strategists and talented content creators, but not the faces that necessarily, depending on the audience, people want to see. And so however you implement, I think, as a student content creator team, it could be through interns, it could be an ambassador team, and it can be a wide array of various options. But I do think that it is critical to a strategy. From our lens here at Indiana University, we've taken a similar approach to the one that I implemented at the University of Michigan, which is leveraging the intern base to become a captive core of student content creators. But there's an exchange of trend adaptations so that there's always strategy that's being implemented behind it. So they might come from either side of that community. It might come from internal or come from the student team to say, hey, what do you think of this idea? Or how could we implement this in a way that our audience will really enjoy? But I think you have to have students, particularly when you're communicating with their peers. Right. I want to know and hear from someone that I value and trust. And after some really difficult years during COVID, the administration is not always who students are trusting. And I think that's just general across society, whether it's government or elected officials or anyone else. There's a lot of mistrust that is circulating both online and in real life. And so we have to pick really intentionally who we're going to have be the face of our content. And students are always an excellent opportunity to select.
Yeah. Drew or Andrew, take it away.
I'm trying to find something. I can't find the exact piece of paper. But it's like nowadays one of the most trusted sources, or like an expert is seen as someone I know, or like I learned something, right? From X. And really it's just it's a friend, or they saw something on social through a trusted individual. Shiro, you and I have already talked about this, right? Like our student media team is our lifeblood on social media. We do a weekly meeting with them. They bring trends, ideas, things like that. My task for them and kind of the vision is, as we hire and we talk about what we're doing, is tell the authentic SDSU story, so that if a prospective student sees it, what they're seeing on our SD State Picks account is what they're going to get when they come to SDSU. But two, don't just do trends, connect it back to South Dakota State University. We skip things, or we skip ideas, or they bring something and I say, how can we make this work, right, for SDSU? Or like, how can you make it work for the college life? We just did one that it's a silly trend, and I'm just going to pull it up and reference it. It's the like Diary of a Wimpy Kid. The like, don't call me, don't, like, I don't. All we did is we kind of sat on it of like, that's a funny noise and it's trending. What can we do right now? And we connect it to when your roommate leaves for break without saying goodbye. Right, like that's a college experience. Everyone can connect to that if they're coming to a university, right? Or can find humor in that type of thing. And so it's empowering them to go and create, but also making sure that you have the brand connection and make sure that you're consistent in your messaging. Should you develop student creator? Yes, right. That's the easy answer.
The students are already making content on your campuses. They are doing it out there. I do not have a team of student workers that I am able to lead or suggest content. So I have to think about, rather than getting down the higher ed trap of what I don't have, oh my God, what I deserve, it is what do I have? What resources are there available? And so they are out there and they are making it. And they are tagging, either geotagging your place in it, or they're just sharing it there. You can find that content. You can repurpose that content for your own channels. Please, please, please get the permission from the student before you reshare or repost their content. Reach out to them, let them know that you are seeing this, that you would like to include this on the institutional channels. I have 99% of the time they say yes. They're so excited about it, to be heard and seen by the place that is such a big part of their lives. So that is a way that I am able to develop the student creators, is to show what students are already creating, to know that I'm developed this in relationship with them. And I see the effects of that because I get more and more direct messages from students saying, hey, here's a picture that I took. Here's a video that I made. Can you post this? Do you want? I'm just showing this to you in case you want it. And there's an interesting thing in the community that I'm a part of here at Middlebury, which these students are, they're very competitive. Like if someone sees their friend has a picture on the Instagram or in the story, or their TikTok video is shared, I want my content to get that too. It's not a part of it that I am particularly happy about, leaning into the competitive nature of students. I think it is getting into the part of how social media can be harmful for the mental health of the people that we serve. But as a strategist and someone who's doing the job, that's a weird line to walk. Like, how do I enliven the community to get me the content that I want and need, but not make them feel like they need to do it or they're being bad if they don't? It's very, very interesting. But that is how I am developing student creators, to enhance my content.
I think one thing off of that too, that I'll just add on the mental health piece, and again, I'm reiterating something that I've talked about with Shiro, but to go a little bit further, of like, I don't ever talk metrics or analytics with my student media team. I look at the reports, I track stuff, I look at see how we're performing, but like their value, their importance to this university, and really just their greater importance as human beings, is not tied to how well they're doing their work for us on social media. So like, we don't talk analytics. I praise them for big ideas. I thank them for their work every day. And I really say, like, I need you guys to realize that, like, you're so much more important than just the content that you're creating and pushing out for us. There's enough time in their lives to get caught up in performance and jobs and things like that. That's not a place that they should be bothered with on social. For us, I want them to go have fun and continue to have fun and continue to like love what they're getting to do for us, because that's when they create the best content.
That's great.
This is a whole other session on student content creators and how we engage them, or reward them or compensate them for the work that they do. However, I want to make two notes on this. One, as brands, when we ask so much of our community, whether it be through visuals or content creation or video, we're opening them up to a world that they did not sign up to be criticized in. And so I think that the conversations you have on the front end are so very, very vital, whether it be, what Andrew is alluding to about who gets the most likes versus if your personal appearance is criticized, if your race, beliefs, or presentation is criticized, if you become a part of another ongoing concern with the institution as a whole that tanks the comment section of what could be a really phenomenal piece of content. And those are things that we need to take responsibility for as leaders within social media and ensure that we are leading with the well-being of our content creation teams in mind. I'll also add that this is the first year where I will say I can probably count on more than one hand the amount of requests I've received to have past posts removed that feature individuals who no longer want to be visualized in that manner or seen in social media or perceived as potentially endorsing or supporting an effort, institution, organization, or initiative. And I think that is a sign of the times, both from a generational standpoint of what and how they own their own content. I mean, we could go into like name, image, likeness, and collegiate athletics, right? They want to own that content, and they have every right to do so. And so I think that's a fascinating new angle of our roles that is evolving.
That first impression in the digital world is so important to this next generation of students. It's almost more important, or it is more important than the in-person handshake. How do you present yourself type of thing? It's because everyone meets everyone digitally almost first these days, or makes connections there. That yeah, Nikki, good point.
Yeah, Andrew, I know that I posted that episode, like a micro clip of it on my LinkedIn, taking that soundbite of how you support your team. And it got a lot of feedback, positive. And so I think it really resonates with hopefully everyone on this call today. So yeah, it's a good topic. I'm going to move on just for time purposes. I do have an AI conversation here, but just because I do want to get to the next question, which is around the executive level and getting leadership buy-in, which I think had, based on the poll, a big concern. Like, I want to go over the AI bit really quickly. I don't know, Drew, you may have prepared something if you want to just give like
I
a
haven't.
top
There's too
five.
much to talk about it. It's too much
Okay.
to talk about, and
We'll
too many unknowns, too many questions, too many things about
Good.
how the machine learning models work, the regulations. It's just too big of a thing.
Cool. Let's skip over the AI one. I think everyone's heard a lot about AI in the last year.
Go look it up. Google it. There's plenty out there. You could find it.
Yes. Okay, great. Well, let's move on to the next question, which is how to communicate social media value at the executive level, right? This question can be asked many different ways, but do you want to kick us off, Nikki? I know we had a full conversation about this, so I'd love to hear your thoughts.
I talked about it so much apparently for 2 decades that I finally got my own executive role. So I'm sure I have something or many things to say about it. I think most importantly, level setting expectations and addressing the perception and reality, as we already discussed today, has become increasingly critical. As social media kind of diverges into 2 different arenas, one that is risk mitigation, brand monitoring and maintenance, and triaging of concerns versus content creation and marketing and branding and vertical video and kind of what I would call the fun side of the house. We have a really critical role to ensure that in higher ed, from our president to our deans to our faculty members, that they know how to work with communicators to ensure that a wide range of content is going out within those spaces that we know that people will engage with, and that we have boots on the ground to ensure that we will alert them to concerns and evolving conversations online so that we can then, use that other side, the good side of the house, to create content to address those items. It's a very vicious circle that we're creating. And so whether or not that be through regular reporting, just a few bullet points on the conversation that's occurring, that's happening online, or here's how your video, performed, and here's how we'd like to potentially address it next time. The more that we can educate all levels, whether it be the leadership or your colleagues and your peers on how social media is actually operating these days, I think the better. And we have a real responsibility, as I know we talked about during our one-on-one show, to increase digital literacy across all facets of society and our networks, because we know enough to be dangerous, but we also have our pulse on what's continuing to change, and not everyone does. And so I think there's a lot of onus on us to ensure that we help bring people along and educate them as much as possible.
I think one of the it's a soft communication or not a direct communication tool that we've seen that's really helped build the trust or the value with the executive level or other leaders on campus is not just sitting in our own bubble of content creation and our office on social media and sitting on Instagram or Facebook or Twitter, X, LinkedIn all day, right? Is we've gotten out and joined university committees or volunteered for different events or attended different things, and I think showed the value that this type of a position brings, right? You're not just the Facebook guy on campus, right? It's you're a strategic communicator. This role is strategic communications. This role is I use the word dangerous in a really good way, like a positive dangerous to the university of like the person that gets to hit post or approve on the university channels, like has a lot of really good power of like getting to craft and shape the direction of the university. And so I think by getting out and forming the relationships, by proving your value and the insight you bring on the marketing conversations or the communications or how you want to present something, only builds that trust. And then when you need to go have the actual analytics reporting conversation is, it's not just, hey, here's this report, here's what I did, hope you like this big number of impressions. It's there's that trust there and a little bit more common language. So
The thing that I'll just add that how to communicate social media's positive value, because they know the negative value very, very well. They get tagged in posts, they get emails, they see the newspapers, they have people coming up to them. I saw this thing, whatever. So they get sort of really focused, the people that I work with, on some of the negative aspects of what social networks and social media can provide. So it's being a resource to be ahead of the game, to be doing your monitoring so well that you can sense that crisis. Or I think, Nikki, I love the word that you use, the concerns. The concerns. It's so nice. I'm going to thank you. I'm taking that away. That's my golden nugget from this experience. The concerns that our communities have. And if you can identify, if you can get really good at saying that is a thing that's going to become something, and then you pass it on to the people who need to know it, by the time that thing becomes whatever big concern is going to be, they've already been alerted to it. They've already started thinking about how they're going to respond and what they're going to do. So communicating the social media's positive value is a challenge. The negative value, they know, and participating in that and getting them the stuff that they can be prepared for the concerns that are coming is essential in our work, even more now than ever, as Nikki has pointed out.
I want to say too, with benchmarking, the more that you can create a foundational understanding, because as both of you alluded to, Drew and Andrew, we do get those calls that there is a concern that has arose or they saw a comment. And we've all had that conversation with an account owner where we say, yeah, nope, that's a troll, or that person has 3 followers, We're not going to shut down or completely change operations because they commented 3 times. And so if we can, as those varying issues arise, say, yes, this might feel like it's burning hot now. We're already seeing, I love a good graph with a trend going down, and it usually calms everyone's fears, or to lay them over and say, you know what, this feels really big, but compared to that last doozy, we were clear up here. I do an incredible amount of that.
2020 was very helpful for those benchmarks. I have some very, very
Everything
firm,
looks small compared to
everything. So it's like, is it that? No. Okay, then we're all right.
We'll survive another day.
Yeah.
Great. Awesome. Thank you so much for all of those insights as well. I know if you want to learn more about what Nikki's doing based on this conversation, I do have a previous episode. I should have had the number ready, but if you search her name in Spotify or Apple Podcasts, it should show up under the Higher Ed Demand Gen podcast, where we go into more detail around communicating value of social to leadership. And it's like a 45-minute conversation on it. So it's great.
I'm pretty sure that's the one that I listened to, Shiro, and then I was like, I'm gonna reach out to you and I want to do this too. So I'd endorse.
That's great.
He's doing great work.
Thank you so much. Awesome. Well, I do want to move into Q&A here. Does any of our audience here today have any questions that they'd like to ask in the remaining 10 minutes that we have? Please use the Q&A box in the tool here. Yeah, and I know someone had emailed me a question prior. I believe it was Dan Meisler from University of Michigan here. This is his concerns around Twitter specifically. Do you think that universities have the opportunity to actually, maybe cut out a social media platform, in this case specifically Twitter, and what would replace it?
Yes, cut it out. Nothing needs to replace it.
Okay.
Free up your time to focus on all the other things that you're trying to do. We do so many things. There's such a rare opportunity to go to leadership and be like, you know what, this platform isn't worth it. We don't want to appear next to the things on there. We don't want to be there. But then it frees up your time to do other things. So that is I have not posted, except for a crisis, on Twitter actively for my institution in about 16 months.
Wow. Okay.
I think herein lies, Drew, I love that you mentioned crisis, because herein lies my biggest concern. Now having crisis communications and public affairs underneath my umbrella, we've not replicated what Twitter/X became for an active shooter situation, or any law enforcement or any journalistic coverage of an emerging event. And the same is true, to take it out of kind of the grim scenario, the same is true for collegiate athletics. There's not another platform where you see play-by-play updates for major sports teams. And I think that collectively we all need to come together and decide where we're going and how we're going to do that. Or I feel like a lot of us are going to be stuck in Twitter land for quite some time. I recently tried to gauge this when an event was emerging with Threads, and there was not a single conversation going on there that was related to what was emerging, on Twitter. And certainly within all of our crisis playbooks, as I try to address this, Michigan State University is a perfect example. Just, this past spring, having an active shooter situation, Twitter was their go-to. It's where all the journalists still were. Is it where students and parents were? One could argue, but it was certainly where they got the broadest audience and the most real-time coverage. And you're not going to get that unless you're putting out 92 frames on your Instagram story. And we're certainly not making TikTok dances telling anyone what's occurring. And it's a conundrum that I struggle with personally quite frequently.
We talk about it in our crisis meetings. I do have an anecdote. So there was a school. They had a crisis that was going. I won't get into specifics to avoid all that sort of stuff. But as it was going on, as a crisis communicator, I'm fascinated by how other higher ed places talk about the things that are happening. So I went to their X account, nothing. I
Mhm.
went to their Facebook, nothing. I went to their webpage, still hadn't been updated. I went to their Instagram story. That was a place where they had posted a thing. They also said in there that we have communicated with our community through email and text already. So they had used that for the emergency to get that out there. But the Instagram story was the only place on social that had posted anything. And that was a big
Mm.
thing that I brought into my team. I was like, things are changing. Here is an anecdote that illustrates that.
Mhm.
I think we saw a
Got it.
lot of that and continue to see a lot of that with the ongoing crisis in the Middle East right now. We tracked
Mhm.
in a large amount of higher education institutions that either selected not to post in social media when they were making statements, or chose very, very intentionally which aspect of social media they posted within. And, you know, one could surmise why that happened for a variety of reasons. But I think we're seeing a lot of intentionality.
Mhm. Gotcha. Hey, I do want to get to just a
Yeah,
few
there are
more
questions.
questions
Sorry about
here.
that.
Oh no, you're
Crisis is
good.
great. Nikki, we'll hang on and talk about crisis because we could do that
Yeah.
forever.
Got a question from Bailey around how are you communicating with other departments who are wanting to create their own social accounts? If one person wants to take this.
So we have just kind of on our website a general playbook of like, so you want to create a social media account, here are your 5 questions, right? Of like, what are you really trying to do? Do you have the time to invest in this? What are the audience, what's the audience trying to what audience are you trying to reach? Who's going to manage the platform? Do you have technology to do stuff? Things like that. I actually just had a phone call saying that someone is hired to run, they're going to run some social media accounts. They don't have a lot of experience and they need social media training. Okay. I mean, we can start there, right? But it's making sure of like, if you want to run an account, make sure you have those 5 questions answered. And I can at least, it's not the end all be all by any means, but I can drop that in the chat if anyone's interested of like seeing that of basically like, it's not just a free thing. There's actual work that needs to be done, and bad social media can hurt you more than you realize, type of thing.
I'm going to have one quick answer, and then I'm sure Nikki has a much more in-depth answer. The only thing I say really that is of any importance to them, because if they're asking, they're already going to do it, is make sure that someone has the email associated with the account and the password. That's not the person who's setting up the account today. Have the department admin have it somewhere so that when that student who's starting it now graduates or moves on, it doesn't get lost and become a ghost account. That is the one major thing that I tell people. Have that access.
Thank you. Yeah, and Nikki, I know you just answered this by text, but around the advocation of student social media creators, do you want to go into a little more detail there at all?
I was
Or
just doing rapid fire here. Which one do
thank
you
you,
want me to
appreciate.
respond to? No, it's okay. We ruined your timeline, so
No, it's okay. What tips did you have to approach leadership about advocating for the need for student social media creators?
Oh, sure. Let's see. What did I actually say here? So peer analysis is always where I go first. You've got to figure out what the leader values, and then create examples within that same arena that say, we would be capable of doing this. Look at how this institution that you value and respect, or this individual or this brand, is doing this well. If we had a little bit of assistance in investing in these areas, we could do that too. Or we could change the conversation, or we could create more content, or we could compete and really break through the noise online and shape that narrative. So it's usually where I start, whether it be with a leader or even any variety of stakeholder level is. And it works in reverse as well, going back to the question about how do you address people that want to create accounts. I just say no. But if I have to come up with something else, it's how are you going to justify it? And can you show me examples of people that you think are doing it well? Do you have the resources to support doing it in that same manner? And talking through those different avenues that usually result in someone going, no, I don't have a photographer, a videographer, a full-time writer, a copy editor. Maybe I'll just collaborate with you. And then we've all reached the same shared vision.
Sorry,
Oh, Drew's got
Nikki,
something to
you
say.
said something that has just like Instagram has, it's in the past year. I think it's been a year that you've been able to do this, but I really encourage everybody to lean into that. Invite collaborators,
Mhm.
have student organizations, invite your institutional account to collaborate with them. It gets great student content onto your main feed. It gets them to see you. It gets you talking with people. It gets you meeting with people. Have those collaborations on Instagram. Super, super, super valuable. Thank you, Nikki, for triggering that in my mind.
I have a good relationship with kind of our leadership in our department, and we shoot pretty straight with each other on some things. And undergraduate recruitment is key to our university's success, right? We don't have the huge graduate population that some other universities do, and so a while back, as we were talking about, that's a different audience, and how do you reach them, type of thing. And I said, listen, if you want to reach them, I need the resources to tell student stories. And that's investing in our students. And so I think it's tying to that metric, right? And the importance of if that's the audience you want to reach, here's how you do it, right? It's not from the I keep joking of like, I'm aging out of social media. Soon I get to start commenting on people's walls, personal conversations, and thinking that the status bar is the search bar, right? Like pretty soon that's where I get to be, and I'm excited about that. But that means I have to employ and hand the tools over to the folks that get it and are in that audience right now.
Fantastic. Great. Well, I think we're just at about time here. I do want to thank everyone for joining. I think there's one more question that I'll try and answer, a few more questions that I'll try and answer via email after if you were left unanswered. But thanks everyone for joining. We had a really good participation rate today. So thank you. And of course, Drew, Andrew, Nikki, thank you so much for joining our discussion today. It's good that we didn't cover all the questions. That to me shows that we had a great conversation, and I appreciate you telling some secrets to this audience of your community.
Thank you. Thank you
Thanks
for
all.
having me.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you so much. Have a good rest of your day.